the first question I usually get is, when did you decide to become a writer? And I think you kind of picked up from what Gloria said, that I didn't really decide to be a writer. And I didn't really grow up thinking about being an author. But I love to read. And growing up, just reading was my passion. You know, just going to the library and checking out a stack of books was exciting. You just couldn't wait to get to each one. And as I got older, I realized that there just weren't the kinds of stories I wanted to read with black women at the center of the story. Just exciting stories that had a little adventure and romance, and I just couldn't find those kinds of stories, and that's why I thought, well, I can either complain about it or write my own. And that's when I decided that I would turn my hand at writing. I think what I did was I set out to kind of fill a niche with one book. I just thought I had one book in me, and that was the story of the Yellow Rose of Texas. And if you've heard me speak, you know the story behind the Yellow Rose of Texas. Is there anyone here who does not know the story behind the Yellow Rose of Texas? Oh, I have an audience. Very briefly, if you've heard the song, The Yellow Rose of Texas, you probably haven't heard the original lyrics to the song, because the song started out as what we called a Negro folk song back in the 1800s. And it was written to a woman of color by a man of color. And the original words in the folk song, The Yellow Rose of Texas, and I do have some copies of it here, mention words of color which were taken out as the song became popular. And I was just intrigued with this when I heard that this was black history and Texas history, and I said, I've got to read that book about this woman who inspired the song, The Yellow Rose of Texas. And when I couldn't find anything at all, other than little snippets of information here and there, I thought, I think this is what I need to do. I need to write the story. So it turned out to be historical fiction, of course, because in the 1800s records weren't kept about us. There wasn't enough to write a full biographical true story. But let me just read the first two stanzas of the original lyrics to the song, The Yellow Rose of Texas. There's a yellow rose in Texas that I am going to see. No other darky knows her, no one, only me. She cried so when I left her, it like to broke my heart. And if I ever find her, we never more will part. She's the sweetest rose of color this darky ever knew. Her eyes are bright as diamonds, they sparkle like the dew. You may talk about dearest May and sing of Rosalie, but the Yellow Rose of Texas beats the bells of Tennessee. A darky? This was written around 1840, we believe. And a song with references to the composer as Darky would only have been written by a man of color. A white man would not have written lyrics like that. And he wrote it to his rose of color, which means he was writing it to a woman of color. So it's to me it was very interesting that it all kind of got lost. So I tried to piece it back together, and that was my first book, and which set me on this road that has allowed me to publish 13 books over about 18 years. It's been a wonderful journey, and I really do appreciate everyone's support.